In the long, bloody history of human warfare, we've seen some strange things. We've seen empires fall for a bucket, wars started over a stray dog, and battles fought for islands that don't exist. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compares to the sheer, unadulterated humiliation of 1932. Imagine a modern military force armed with heavy machine guns and thousands of rounds of ammunition, led by a highly decorated major. Now imagine their enemy, a flightless bird with a brain the size of a walnut. This is the story of the Great Emu War. It sounds like a joke, but for the Australian government, it was a strategic nightmare. It's a tale of human arrogance versus nature's guerrilla warriors. And as you're about to find out, the birds didn't just survive, they won. If you think your government makes bad decisions, wait until you see what happened when the Australian Army declared war on 20,000 birds. Stay tuned, because the final casualty count is something you won't believe. To understand this war, we have to go back to the aftermath of World War I. The Australian government had a brilliant idea: give land to returning soldiers so they could become wheat farmers. It was called the Soldier Settlement Scheme. Thousands of veterans moved to the harsh, dry plains of Western Australia, turning the desert into gold. But by 1932, the Great Depression had hit. Wheat prices were collapsing. The farmers were desperate. And then the soldiers arrived. Not human soldiers, emus. Every year after their breeding season, emus migrate to the coast. But this time, they found something better than the coast: 20,000 hectares of freshly planted, delicious wheat. 20,000 emus descended on the farms like a feathered plague. They weren't just eating the crops, they were destroying the fences, fences designed to keep out rabbits. Now the rabbits were pouring in too. The veterans, men who had survived the mud of the Western Front and the horrors of Gallipoli, found themselves facing an invasion they couldn't stop. They didn't call the Ministry of Agriculture. They went straight to the Ministry of Defense. They wanted blood, and specifically, they wanted machine guns. The Minister of Defense at the time was Sir George Pierce. He saw a golden PR opportunity. If the army could wipe out the emus, he would look like a hero to the farmers. He agreed to send troops, but on 3 conditions. The birds were to be used for target practice, the farmers would provide the food, and the farmers would pay for the ammunition. Enter Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery. He arrived in the district of Campion with 2 soldiers and 2 Lewis machine guns. Now, for those who don't know, the Lewis gun was a legendary weapon of World War I. It could fire 500 rounds per minute. It was designed to mow down charging infantry. The plan was simple: herd the emus into a tight group and let the machine guns do the rest. Meredith was so confident he even brought a cinematographer to film the glorious victory. He thought it would be over in days. He didn't realize he was about to face the most disciplined guerrilla force in the animal kingdom. The emus didn't have a commander, but they had something better: an instinctive understanding of tactical dispersal. The first engagement took place on November 2nd. The soldiers spotted a group of about 50 emus. They set up the guns, but the birds were out of range. The farmers tried to herd them closer, but the emus split into small groups and ran in every direction. A few days later, a much bigger opportunity arose. Over 1,000 emus were spotted heading toward a local dam. This was it, a perfect ambush. Meredith waited until they were at point-blank range. Sound of a machine gun firing, then suddenly stopping. The guns jammed. After only 12 birds were killed, the weapon failed. The rest of the flock scattered. It was here that Major Meredith began to realize his enemy's secret weapon. The emu can take a hit. One soldier later remarked that the birds were like armored tanks. Even when hit with multiple bullets, they just kept running. Meredith's report was starting to look embarrassing. He decided to get creative. He mounted a machine gun onto a moving truck to chase the birds across the desert. But there was a problem. The terrain was so bumpy the gunner couldn't aim, and the birds were actually faster than the truck in the rough scrub. At one point, a single emu managed to get caught in the steering wheel, causing the truck to veer off and crash into a fence. The birds were winning, not by fighting back, but by being impossible to hit. As a local journalist wrote, "The emus have proved that they are not as thick-headed as one might be led to believe. Each mob has its leader, who keeps watch while his mates busy themselves with the wheat." By November 8th, 6 days after the start of the war, the army had fired 2,500 rounds of ammunition. The official death toll? Depending on who you asked, it was somewhere between 50 and 200 birds. That's roughly 50 bullets per bird. The Australian Parliament was in an uproar. The opposition poked fun at the government, asking if medals would be struck for the survivors of the emu front. One member of Parliament sarcastically asked if the emus had already occupied the capital. Under a storm of public ridicule, Sir George Pearce ordered a withdrawal. Major Meredith and his men went home. The war was over. But the emus didn't sign a peace treaty. They kept eating the wheat. The farmers begged for the army to return. Surprisingly, they did. A second campaign was launched later that month. This time, Meredith was more successful, claiming 986 kills with nearly 10,000 rounds fired. But even then, the remaining 19,000 birds were still there, still hungry and still mocking the fences. Major Meredith's final report is one for the history books. He compared the emus to the elite Zulu warriors of Africa, saying, "If we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. They can face machine guns with the invulnerability of tanks." Eventually, the government realized that machine guns weren't the answer. They implemented a bounty system where farmers were paid for every emu they killed. This was far more effective, but it didn't change the fact that a professional military unit had been defeated by a bird. But here is the final twist, the bit they don't always tell you in the history books. The Great Emu War wasn't just a funny failure. It was an ecological disaster. By trying to exterminate the emus, the government almost wiped out a species that was vital to the Australian ecosystem. Today, the emu is on the Australian coat of arms, standing proudly next to the kangaroo. Why? Because neither animal can easily move backward. They only move forward. Maybe the Australian government chose the emu not because of its beauty, but because they respected its stubbornness. The bird that refused to die under machine gun fire became the symbol of the nation that tried to kill it. So, what do you think? Was this the most embarrassing moment in military history, or just a very expensive lesson in nature? Let me know in the comments below. I want to see a Team Emu or Team Army in the chat. If you want to see our next deep dive, the story of the man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice, you need to click that subscribe button right now. Hit the like button if you think the emus deserve the win. Thanks for watching and stay curious.